Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 21 of the VR Inside podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on Nathie's YouTube channel. You can tune into the show live at 4 p.m. in Europe, 3 p.m. in the UK, and 9 a.m. in Central US. If you missed the live show, then you can catch up with the whole show, which I upload to my own YouTube channel every Sunday, Virtual Reality Oasis. So, alternatively, you could also check out the audio-only version, which is available on iTunes, Google Play Music, and on SoundCloud. If you've got any questions, comments, or feedback, chuck them in the chat, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. Sorry for the delay, technical issues, some bugs in the system, but we've got them ironed out, so hopefully you can enjoy this awesome stream now. But let me introduce you to this awesome group of Gunters. First up, he'll be soon going back to the future in his own DeLorean, and that is our main man, Nathie.
Hey, hello. Good morning.
Also there with a fresh haircut as well, looking sick.
Yeah, you guys like it? Let me know. Bye, Rowdy.
See you, Rowdy. Wow.
If you touch your phone too much, guys, it does things.
Rowdy's on holiday. That explains everything.
Yeah. Like I said, we've had a few technical issues this episode, but he's back. Rowdy Neistat. We'll do his intro before he disappears.
I have no idea what happened. It just cut off like right when we went live. No idea. Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
That's cool, man. But you're away at the moment, aren't you, Rowdy? You're overseas.
Currently in Porto. I flew here with Ryanair. Excellent service. They brought me here in one piece. The only piece that they forgot was my luggage. My luggage is still currently surviving on the. This shirt I've already worn for 3 days, so it's lucky it's only visual because the smell is currently not good, you know. We're trying to make the best of it. It's my girlfriend's birthday today. We're trying to make it count. You know, it's a 30th birthday, but.
Well, happy birthday to Rowdy's girlfriend. Everyone in the chat wish her happy birthday, and wish that Rowdy gets his clothes back, because at the moment he's had to turn his pants inside out at least twice, which isn't cool.
I'm not wearing any pants. I'm not wearing any pants. Like, you're only gonna see me from the waist up today.
That's wise. Let's keep this PG friendly, Rowdy. Next up, like Sebastian from The Little Mermaid, this guy loves to be under the sea, and that is ZimTalk5. How you doing, Zim?
I don't know if I'd use the word love in that statement, but I do.
No.
Oh no, it's a love-hate, it's a Marmite relationship, you know, love-hate relationship of being under the ocean, Mike.
Right.
But yeah, I have spent a lot of time underwater. My fingers have gone all kind of wrinkly, you know. It's a
You're
bit
like a little prune.
I'm like a very big prune. Yes.
Yeah, nice. And last but not least, myself, the host of the show, Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about, obviously, Subnautica, Beat Saber, the Inpatient on PSVR, MR headsets have recently had a big price reduction, and Vive controller thumbsticks. So we've got a busy show for you guys, but let's start off with what everyone has been up to this week. Let's jump in with Rowdy first, just in case he has to fall out and disappear. So come on, Rowdy, what have you been up to? We're all intrigued.
The Impatient, a fun game, actually. I like many of you guys already know, like, I like story-driven titles. It's much less gameplay. I mean, the thing that I've played so far, there's not a lot of actions required, but it's very cinematic. It's very story-driven. I kind of like those kind of things. And then another title that I've played that's also very story-driven is Contagion. I think we're going to maybe talk about that a little bit as well. Some other people have played it as well. I'll leave that to someone else who probably knows more about it than me. But yeah, it's a fun zombie story-driven kind of adventure as well. It's only a demo that is out at the moment, but it's worth checking it out. And I hope that the developers take that concept also a little bit further. Because it's a cool demo, and I like those kind of experiences in virtual reality. I played the VR cooking game, the cooking game VR or something it's called. It was a little bit buggy still. I had like some problems with that, but it turned out to be quite funny, which is more like an arcade kind of cooking experience than anything else. And then what else did I played Survive, written with a 1 and a 3. Also a zombie game, but much more in like I mean, the first tutorial mission is very linear. It's like it kind of has a Left 4 Dead kind of feeling, for me at least, a little bit. You have like safe houses that you need to go to. You have, those are your save points as well. You have a number of variety of and weapons. You have different kind of melee weapons and that kind of stuff. But after that first tutorial mission, it gets much more into like a survival kind of mode that you need to go actually follow the map, find objective, and scavenge for supplies. So yeah, I think that's about it. What I've done this week.
Nice, man. Sounds like you've been pretty busy. So Zim, what you been up to? I'm intrigued to hear about your adventures under the sea. You can. Although you save some for later because we're going to be talking about Subnautica in a bit.
I'm going to keep it really simple, Mike, because I was just thinking there, I was like, what did I do this week? And usually I go and this is how bad my short-term memory is. I'll go to like Twitch and I'll look at the last 4 or 5 games I've streamed. I literally can't remember anything but building a base under the ocean in Subnautica, and I'll tell you more about that later. I can't say anything else. It's been 15 plus hours of hardcore single death and the game wipes, and I'm not dead yet.
Wow. Okay, interesting. We'll get onto a bit more of that later on then. So, Nathie, what about you? Other than getting an awesome new haircut this week, what have you been doing?
Hey, well, thanks for that again. I played Contagion as well. As Rowdy said, what are they going to do with it? We'll see. To the full might be an interesting one. A Contagion is a very old concept, by the way. It's like an old game. So they recently decided to just bring a new one, built from the ground up for VR as well, not just a part of VR title. It's nice, but in the end, it's a demo and it's very polished. So we will see what the game is going to offer. Decided over demos, I would say. Always see what comes after, because I mean, demos are always like, back in the days where you had like an Xbox or a PlayStation, you had those demos like, wow, and then you played the actual game, it was like, so but yeah, that's one to look out for. And the Contagion demo is totally free, so it's available on Steam if you want to check it out. The Perfect Sniper, 50-50. I don't know. I don't know about that one. If you are interested, I got a review up of that one. But that one, it's a sniper simulator with a good storyline, but it's fairly disappointing, I would say.
That's a shame.
At least I played VR chat.
Of course.
I'll spare you the details.
Yeah. Okay, well, I've actually had like a super busy week this week. I've been doing tons of stuff, so I'll go through it because there's quite a bit. So first off, on Tuesday, I went to XR Connect in London, which is a sort of event hosted by Pocket Gamer, but it's for PC games, VR games, and mobile games as well. They call the VR part of it XR because it represents virtual reality, augmented reality, and of course mixed reality as well. So they refer to it as XR. But yeah, it's like an event that's happening in Helsinki as well, in London. I think they do one in California. But it was a kind of a cool little show. It was quite small and compact, but very sort of personal. You had a lot of time to talk to developers. So that was really nice. They also had loads of like interesting talks about how VR in industry is working. So like Land Rover Jaguar, for example, are taking it and using it in their sort of demonstrations of their new vehicles and stuff like that they're making. How AR can help manufacturing plants find defects and check trains, for example, because train drivers have to do like system checks before they drive a train. So AR glasses were helping them do those checks. And then also like how people can...
For a minute there, I thought you were saying that you'd played a game that was like just about train simulator, but only the checks at the beginning. I was like, that's not a game.
No, like, so apparently, like a train driver, before he drives, he has to do this checks, and an AR glasses system can actually say, yeah, he did actually look at those correct spots before taking the train out. Yeah. So it kind of is like an automatic checklist to say he's done his job. So that was kind of interesting.
Mike, I got a question for you then on this then. Is this the year of when VR goes boring and gets into the workplace?
Well, there was a forklift simulator, but maybe I'll touch on that in a little bit later. But so this is what happened. So there was like a mobile device, like how to optimize VR games for mobile devices as well. So there was loads of interesting talks. There was also a talk actually from Kwebbelkop and Aziland from YouTube about how to work with influencers. That was super interesting from my perspective, how they deal with big brand deals and stuff like that. So that was cool to see as well. But they had a thing called the XR Indie Pitch, which is where they get a panel of judges to look at all these indie titles and interview the devs, and then they rate them out of like a score, and then at the end of the day the top 3 wins some prizes and some support from Pocket Gamer, which was really nice. In third place came a game called Pastime for Pirates, and that is made by the same team that did Loco Dojo Make Reveal. That's their upcoming game for the Oculus Rift, and that's going to be coming out in 2018. Essentially, it's like a load of mini games where you're like pirate-based mini games, so like drinking grog, throwing darts, those kind of mini games. Kind of fun. Second place was Ground Runner Trials, which is a game that's already out right now, available on Steam and Oculus Rift from Astrofish Games, and that's kind of like a hover bike racer. And then in first place was a title that literally came out of nowhere for everyone, and that was a game called Hyper VR Partyware. And it's made by a studio called Shuttershade Studios, which is a small indie dev from the UK. And it's essentially, imagine what WarioWare would be like in VR. It's kind of a bit like that. Loads of like mini games, but really crazy. Supports local multiplayer as well. So this is kind of going to be one that's going to be fun for VR arcades as well. But it had like mini games like Beer Pong Guru, Squat Nation, and loads of other just like wacky mini games. So that won first prize.
Squat Nation!
Is it competitive, Mike?
It is competitive, yeah, of course. Yeah. So I'm not sure if they're going to have like active support, but they've certainly mentioned that it's going to be local LAN-based competitive, but we'll see. The devs literally were blown away by winning, and they don't even have like a website or a press kit or anything at the moment, so they're rushing to put everything together, bless them. But it looks like a really promising title, and like I say, won the show in terms of like indie showcase, so that was really cool.
What was the name of that one again, Mike? Because people will be interested to check that out.
Yeah, so if you want to check it out, it's called Hyper VR Partyware. Like I say, it's going to come out in 2018. It's made by Shuttershade Studios, UK developer.
Shade Studios.
That's the one. So whilst I was in London as well, I thought I would take the opportunity to finally go and check out The Void. So I got to experience The Void, Shadows of the Empire, which is like The Void is kind of like a pop-up thing that is, you can go and experience it in London, Florida, and California. It's run by Industrial Light and Magic, and they've partnered up with Star Wars to create this Star Wars experience called Secrets of the Empire. And I actually ended up going with John Hibbins, who's from Cytec, who is the studio behind Windlands and Windlands 2. And we got to jump in there together and have some fun and team up. I won't spoil anything for you. I'll just sort of go through the basics of what it's like. You kind of suit up, obviously, with a headset and a big backpack that obviously has a PC in it. And then you've got this kind of like a haptic vest. It's not haptic, but like a rumble vest almost. And you get like a little briefing from like some of the cast from Star Wars. And then you have like a 10-minute VR experience that's kind of warehouse and tracked. It's about 35 quid, which is quite expensive, but I think if you're into VR or into Star Wars, you're going to freaking love this thing. But overall, I came out thinking that I was really impressed with the technology behind it because, you're tracked moving through this kind of small little maze with 3 other people, by the way. So there's 4 players in total that go in together. You can all see each other represented in VR and high five and see all their tracked arms and legs and stuff. It's really cool. The graphics were very polished. The shooting felt really fun because you actually had a physical gun. And then when you actually get shot, you feel a little rumble on the vest that you're wearing as well. So you can feel the shots incoming. So that's kind of cool as well. And then you've got like other bits where you can feel heat, wind, vibrating floors, tactile buttons within that you touch in real life as well as in VR. So all in all, very polished experience. It did have some glitches, like I turned some stuff around and some stuff glitched out, but it wasn't enough to break the immersion of the experience, put it that way. And so if you're in London, California, or Florida and you've got opportunity to go and do The Void, I would totally recommend it.
What's the price of a ticket, Mike, for that?
So like I say, it's like 35 quid. So it's quite expensive for like a 10, 15-minute experience. You're actually 10 minutes in the experience. The other 5 minutes are suiting up and a little briefing.
But how do they
Wow.
did they advertise that as like as well, like how long it takes?
They don't say how long it takes. No, they don't say.
Well, it's funny if they said to you like, yeah, it's 15 minutes. You're like, yeah, 15
Yeah.
minutes, and then 5 minutes like, oh, I'm just suiting up, yo.
Because just thinking about it, actually, you could have just not moved forward, and you'd have been in it for longer. Do you know what I mean? Like you could have delayed things, so you could have stayed in one spot, and the story wouldn't have progressed, or so you maybe could have done that. I don't know how they deal with that kind of thing, but
so they play one, so the game basically, or the experience just keeps on playing. Well, it's like that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, so you actually have to move from because it's obviously like you actually walk around this like little maze essentially, and obviously when you go to certain parts of it, then that part of it plays out. So say if you stayed at the very beginning section, it wouldn't have continued until you moved on. But like me and John, obviously being VR veterans, we kind of blitzed through it. We knew what we were going to do. So
Rowdy was trying to say something there earlier, so just calling him out.
Go on, dude.
Are there any like longer experiences available as well, or is it only like the 10-minute one for Star Wars that they have now?
Well, they also do a Ghostbusters one, which some other people that we, part group have checked out. But I think they're all kind of 10-minute experiences. Like if you want to go for something longer that's more warehouse based, there is other stuff out there. I can't remember what it's called now. But there is an experience in London as well, I think. There is a VR warehouse scale experience that you can go in for much longer. But for the Void, it's only 10 minutes. But it's very, very polished, and it's a worthwhile.
I'd so be interested in definitely doing a warehouse sim post the Vive Pro launch and the new base stations. When that combination is out there, give them a month or two to get things sorted, then I'm into it. If they can base it on that technology, I want to know what that's like. Because my room is not 10 by 10 meters.
No.
Oh, before we go to the next subject, like, how was the resolution of those?
Yeah, so this is the thing. Like, you don't know what headset it is because it's kind of covered with all this plastic, and a lot of people were saying it's a custom headset. I don't know if it is or not, but the resolution was great. The graphical quality was great. I wouldn't say it was a leap above what we already have. It was kind of comparable to maybe just a touch better. But the whole overall experience with the visuals being completely tetherless and interacting with other players in your physical space and moving around a physical space, it just added to the immersion. So the graphical fidelity of it and the resolution was probably like the least of your worries. Everything else was what made it even more impressive. But yeah, so that was a great experience. And then when I came back home, I also spent a lot of time in VR at home as well. I checked out the Cubism demo, which was on Zim's recommendation, actually. And it was a great recommendation and very cool indeed. If you haven't heard of Cubism, I definitely recommend to go check it out. It's a demo as well, but you can download it. It's not available on Steam or Oculus. You have to download it from the dev's website, which we can put in the description or something like that later on. But essentially, it's like a puzzle game with a very minimalist art style. You basically have to put shapes into like a little receptacle shape,
3D Tetris, isn't it? It's 3D Tetris.
Yeah, it's 3D Tetris essentially. But the last puzzle had me stumped for like 40 minutes. I was literally going insane over that last puzzle. So if you want like an hour's worth of puzzling experience, the first 15 minutes will be for the first few puzzles, and then the last half an hour, 40 minutes will be on the last one because you are going to get stuck on it for sure. Yeah. Subnautica, obviously, because we're going to be talking about that later. I actually went back. You're going to blow your minds. I actually went and played Jumanji VR. And that was because I was listening back to last week's show, which I do, sadly. When I'm driving to work, I listen back to the show to see, what we can improve and, bits and pieces. And I was listening back, and Zim criticized me for slagging off Jumanji because he was like, dude, you haven't played it. And I was like, you know what? Fair play to you, dude. Like, yeah, all right, I haven't played it, but it looks bad. So I'll give it a go. So I actually paid £4 of my own hard-earned cash to play this game. And oh my God, I was so right. It is just so bad. Like, you can finish this in 15 minutes. It is literally one level. So you're paying £4 for one level. The gameplay is just repetitive and dull. The voiceover acting is just like comical how bad it is. The movement felt really janky and awkward, and then at the end you can like scream out Jumanji to finish the experience, and then it just restarts and you can play it again.
And the screaming part was basically the best thing, right? I mean, seriously,
that was the best thing.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, the best thing actually was like the rock is like mini rock, right? And then you can actually pick up a rock and smash the rock over the head with a rock. So that's the kind of funniest thing I got out of it. Like, it was awful.
Like $4 on this detection. I have a lot of respect for you, but on the other side, now we will see more of these experiences because of you.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the thing is, this is kind of thing. It's kind of an ethical comment here. Like, I was thinking about refunding it, but then I was like, well, I've done a video on it. So is that right that I should get a refund for a game I've done a video on? I couldn't quite work out in my mind. So I was like, you know what? You can keep my $4. You know, enjoy it. Buy yourself a latte from Starbucks or something. So that was my week. I've had a super busy week. But yeah, I'm excited about this week's show. And obviously we can move on now to our first topic, which is, of course, Subnautica. For those that don't know anything about Subnautica, which I didn't know anything about Subnautica until this week, actually, and it's a title by a studio called Unknown Worlds Entertainment. It's been in development for actually about 5 years now. Launched in early access on Steam in 2014, but since then the devs have been like adding more and more to the game, and more importantly, really listening to like the community feedback about what they want, which is fantastic. And they finally launched the game on the 23rd of January. It's obviously available as a flat game or a VR game. They've added VR to it. But it's really cool that they've listened to the community and they've really kind of modeled a game based on what they wanted. And the feedback so far from the full release is that the community are really happy with what they finally got as a package. But you guys have tried this out. So what I'll do is I'll check this over to Zim, because obviously he's got some interesting story to tell, I'm sure, and he's doing something mad in Subnautica. So go on, dude. Before we jump into the deep more, tell me what you've been up to in Subnautica. I'm intrigued to know.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing just to mention is they had probably the best and worst launch party that I've seen for a game yet. To let you guys know the background, I've been playing Subnautica since early access. I was backer 1,500 out of the first 10,000 who actually funded the game. And if you have that, you have this little plate you get in the game which you can attach to the hull of your ship or in your base or whatever. So there's a few things to mention. They did this whole live stream on Twitch, which was awesome. It went for 2 hours, and it was started like 40 minutes late. There was no audio. They had Sacriel, who's a really famous Twitch streamer, along with another fella who I can't remember his name. They had like all the main Subnautica guys, like the co-founders, the whole dev team there, like drinking wine and stuff. But audio issues all over the place, a little bit like our start of the show today. And it was just, it was so wrought with trauma, but at the same time, it was really good fun just to see it and be there with everyone else. The things that worked, like they told us about things about the game's development cycle that we didn't know before, and it was really exciting just to kind of go through all that. So the game launched with kind of this funky, screwed up from an aquarium with live sharks and everything in the background, like these tall windows behind the devs. I was thinking, I just want to see a crack in that glass appear. You know, this will be like so much better entertainment value. But it was actually really good. It was great how well they actually went through all those technical issues with smiles on their faces, and that was really the start of the Big Bang. The week for me was big, because I said with my stream, I was like, guys, all right, to start this off, what we're going to do is, there's a few different modes in Subnautica you can play with. You can play with freedom mode, which means it's basically like creative in Minecraft, just, you know, you don't get hurt, you don't have to worry about food or anything. But at its core, Subnautica is a survival game. You can play survival, which is you need like food and water. Or you can play, I'm missing a mode here, or you can play hardcore. Now, hardcore is, I suppose you'd call it the most roguelike of the experiences, because it's something that when you get into it, if you die, so if you lose your breath underwater, if a creature blows up in your face, anything kills you, your game's done. Finished. Save file wiped, everything. So I started off the week, I did 2 hardcore games, both of them ended within like 15-30 minutes. And I was like, feck, alright, third time's the charm. On that third life, I've now lasted more than 15 hours. I'm working on hour 16. And it has been, I have had several moments. I won't spoil anything, but there's a few creatures in the game that obviously can kill you. Actually, there's feck loads of creatures that can kill you. The thing that normally kills me is I forget to take a breath, and in hardcore mode, it doesn't alert you. It'll say 30 seconds when you've got 30 seconds of oxygen.
Wow.
And then everything just starts to go quiet.
Wow.
And that's the 10 seconds to like, shit, I need to be at the surface. So it is an incredibly... The thing about Subnautica, I played it ages ago. And I think most VR players' reactions, if you've played from DK2 era, will be, I remember it didn't work very well in VR. Like in the shallow areas, which are relatively safe, and not very complex scenes, like the game worked really well. But the second you started to go deeper or further afield, the game would chug, it would have pop-in, it really was unplayable, I would have said, before. Now they've fixed the vast majority of those things. The menu system is still a little bit fixed distance. So before, ages and ages ago, the tablet that you pull up, which is like your PDA, actually they refer to it as a PDA, it's in front of your face at a fixed distance, and it's like, if it's slightly uncomfortable to read the text, it moves with your head. So it's like, I want to get closer. At a certain part in the game where you get a ship, you can actually move your head closer to it, so that alleviates that. But they've said to me, actually, in a tweet responding to some of my hype about the game, they said, we are going to be focusing on VR as the next step, and we're going to be bringing a VR patch. So that's a really nice thing. But right now, for me, it's an absolute must-buy. Honestly, and this is a reaction I was kind of saving to say here, but for me, this game has moved from like this creative open world survivalist game, almost felt a little bit like DayZ, especially now that I'm playing it hardcore. It feels very like DayZ, because one death and I'm gone. But it's moved into this sphere, which is, the game has brought me so much tension and terror. Like, I've never felt this scared to die, even in real life. And I've been through a school shooting. I've never felt this scared to die. And my audience and we're watching, we're going through the whole thing together. And I don't even want to play anymore because like death is around the corner and I'm going to lose it all. And you have to do, it's literally 15 hours of work to get all the unlocks, get to that point. But the kind of things you can discover, I can't give away any of the secrets because the game is the story that used to be kind of like bolted together. They brought in a full-on writer and all that. Amazing. Like Resident Evil 7 is now below this game in my book for horror and story. Wow. This is a more complete horror story experience. It's fucking incredible what they've done. And the sounds, the voice acting is better than any other game that I've played. Amazing voice acting in this.
Wow, that's some awesome praise there.
Looking at the chat, John Nix wants to know if Subnautica also works on the Vive.
Good question. Yes, it's a Steam game. It's a Steam game. So I haven't played it with the Vive.
It's made for the Rift. Or, well, I mean, it was running on the Oculus Rift DK2.
Yeah,
The problem, because there are no motion controllers in the game yet. Let's hope they are also going to add that.
It was gamepad. Well, I don't know. Like, I mean, a lot of people have asked me that. They're like, one thing that they brought back, which I freaking love them for, is keyboard support. They didn't have it before. But just like when I was playing Doom, there's a lot of people who are like, you can't get immersed in a game if you're not using touch controllers. Feck that, that's not true. Sometimes you need it. Rowdy.
For me, that's still strange. Like that, I really want to get those motion controllers in there, and I agree with you that it probably plays better with the keyboard. But I feel so much more immersed when I have my hands in a game. Yeah. I played, Subnautica a lot. Like when it was like really popular on YouTube a little while ago. Now it's becoming popular again. I watched so many of those videos and absolutely love survival games like that because I played like other kind of survival games in VR as well. But I really, really want to get immersed in that. And I'm definitely going to play that Subnautica title. I really want to because I bought it on a Steam sale like, years ago. And I tried it with VR back then. And it was horrible to try it for me then. But I mean, I agree with you that they probably optimized a lot. But I'm curious what that VR patch is going to bring more.
Yeah.
It would be nice to see because my main problem with the game was the HUD. I had to roll my eyeballs almost out to see the HUD properly, and that really freaks me out. I don't know how that is now for you.
Turn it off. Yeah. So I think you're talking about on the PC version, and this is the thing. I could never play the PC version. The PC version has a scuba mask around the borders like this, and it's like, oh, you're in a scuba mask. Way back and in between when I first got into Subnautica and its final state. There was a period where they forced that on the VR player as well, where you had the mask. That's one thing that's gone completely. But the HUD and the HUD elements, there's quite a few on the scene. And if you are into Subnautica, F6 is your savior. You press F6 to cycle through the options, and I find myself going from taking all the HUD elements off, including, you know, oxygen level and health. I just try to remember that, and so far I've survived 15 hours. You turn all that off, the game is incredibly immersive, to the point where it's scary being in deep water anywhere. It's terrifying.
Immersion breaking to have so much HUD in your face, that's what you're saying?
I think
in a hardcore way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it's a PC game with a VR fork. The VR fork was native, so it's not like that they started off and said, "Here, we're going to build a 2D game and then we're going to bolt on VR later." They've had it from inception, and that shows. It's really well designed. But to Rowdy's point, I would as well love to see controller support across all the elements of the game. I just don't know if at this stage of the dev cycle they're going to put that much resource in to go full track controller support, because there's a lot to build in, I would imagine. They are on Unity though. They're on Unity, so shouldn't be that
honestly
difficult.
I'm a little disappointed this didn't came any earlier. They could have just launched something with VR at least, because I mean a better like improvements in the end, and now they're like, okay, so we launched the game, now we're gonna do it a little earlier, in my opinion. But
well, it's totally playable. I mean, I don't know what you're commenting on.
Like they from the start, they already started to figure out that Subnautica worked great with VR. People didn't work great, but people were still going in there from time to time to check it out and see if anything else.
In their defense, they have had VR support listed on Steam for quite a while, because I remember that I bought this title together with the Ark Survival Evolved, which also has VR support. Worse, like, I mean, back then I tried it. That was one of the few games I had a frame rate of like game, and it was not my computer that was like freaking out. It was just not optimized for VR, and nothing of the controls work in that game. And I played Subnautica back then as well, but also wasn't really an idea. It was one of those like VR support titles that were out on Steam that were not really that interesting for me.
Those originals were great, right? Ark was terrible, right? The other one that I would say from that era is Euro Truck Simulator 2. Why they haven't turned their VR branch into the main branch so that they could put multiplayer in that would have sold shed loads of copies. But I spoke to them on the phone, and they said, well, we've got half a guy who's doing the VR branch, and to be honest, we need to put him on other stuff for the 2D. I'm like, you're not looking to the future. You need to think about this, guys. And I'm surprised that team hasn't VRified at this point, because they could have spent the last 3 years cashing it in. And they just, whoever is their business development manager needs to get fired.
So did you play much Subnautica, Nathie? You play much of this one?
No, it's not really my kind of thing. You know, I'm usually a guy who likes to play a game where it's like kind of point to point, and this is more like you can just do whatever you want. And the survival thing is kind of intense. It's just that
it's not sandbox anymore, actually, Nathie. I'd actually say that just to guide you towards it, because the story is a spine, and it is node based, although you can pick like different nodes, because you find these other life pods and you can kind of go signal to signal. It's very cool. Just give it a go, I'd say. I think you'd like it, because it is a little bit more linear.
It was kind of like you could get lost in what you wanted to do. So back then I wasn't really into it. But I know, like I've seen the trailer and also some stories about like from other people that played it so far. I'll try it. I'm just like work on the VR support, talk to the community, see what they want, loop it back, and then try to discuss it together.
Just say that again, Nathie. Your audio broke up.
Like what they should do is like plan out a roadmap to get onto Reddit, talk to the community, and see what VR support people really want and what prove. You know, it's just kind of vague right now. We are going to work on it. Like we are in the very popular days of VR at this moment. People are like hungry for more stuff to play, and Subnautica is still around in a lot of people's heads. So this is a moment to act, you know, or at least look around and see what people want. Also, Paradise DK said that says that it's also for the Vive. So yeah, like like next level for sure for this game.
So, certainly from my point of view, like you know, I played around 10 to 15 minutes just to see what it was all about. For those that don't know, you start off, you crash land on a water planet, basically. You're in a little life pod, and you have to go and explore the depths of the sea, collect items to repair your little ship, and gather resources and stuff like that to survive, essentially. And what I found, like, straight away, the thing that I found was that it's just gorgeous in VR. Like, looking around this underwater scene with like all these different creatures swimming around was really, really cool. And then when you swim to the surface, like, you have this kind of cool effect where the water drips down, and that's really nice as well. And then I actually found that I was swimming around, and I was like, hey, it's getting darker and darker. And then I actually realized it was a night cycle in the game. And then when it's night, obviously it's very dark under the sea. So all these like creatures were like glowing different colors, and the sea floor was glowing in different colors as well. It was like almost magical. So even on a visuals standpoint alone, I would say it's a really cool experience and worth checking out. But I did sort of echo the same issues when it comes to like VR implementation, in that I had to use a controller. So I was using an Xbox One controller, and that worked fine, to a certain degree. But like you said there, Zim, the menu system was just way too close to my eyes. It made it kind of a bit uncomfortable to read stuff. But I'm sure, the devs are going to listen to all this feedback that the community are driving, because there's the whole sort of discussion on the Steam page is all from the community giving them this feedback as well. So we're not the only ones saying this. So I'm sure they will make it better over time, but it's definitely one that I want to experience a bit more. There was a couple of performance issues in the menu. I don't know if you had the same issues, Zim, but once I was in the game, it was actually fine. In the menu, like
yeah, I did actually notice, and that's new. I like before you load into the game.
Yeah, it ran really badly, but as soon as I was in the game, it ran fine. But yeah, I'm sure these issues will get ironed out. But definitely one that I'm looking forward to going back to. I'm not probably going to do what Zim is doing with the hardcore mode. I'm just like, that would just give me a freaking heart attack, I think. So I'm just going to go and play it normally and just enjoy the game for what it is. But yeah, it's an exciting one. But if you want to pick that up, right now they're running a 10% discount on Steam, so you can pick it up for £17.54 in the UK, and in the US it's $22.49. So if you like the sound of that and crawling around and exploring the bottom of the ocean, then go and check it out.
I gotta say one thing before we finish. I could not convince for her bloody life my wife, who is a gamer, to get in, because she doesn't like deep oceans and stuff, and the game is so, like, the second you're like, it's like, no, not doing that. I mean, there are other games that we've seen drop in. I'm trying to remember. It was a terrible one that was really early on. It was kind of like an ocean simulator where you could see a megalodon or something. Can't remember the name now, but those games where you're like suspended in the ocean. And then there was that recent VR education one that we
Operation Apex.
So if you like that kind of environment, Subnautica like amplifies that tenfold, and it gives you things that are just,
it's very isolating.
It is very isolating.
Do most people know it's like a VR title? Like, because I mean, we all know from back in the days, like, oh yeah, DK2.
Not many.
Like, new people, they aren't really advertising it, because of course they are still working on the VR support for Subnautica. But I think most people don't even know, like, and that they can play it with a VR headset, because at this moment it's kind of like a dry season. If people knew about this, if they drop it on, for example, the front page of Oculus Home, put like VR on it, and bam, then I think it will not just drown. You get my point. After the VR support is really there, like the actual support where they are super proud of as a development team, are not really able to advertise it anymore. Now there's like a big advertisement flow going on, but are they also going to do that when the VR support is there? Because a lot of people need to experience this then,
Yeah, absolutely.
The problem is, like, I agree with you that, if it's on the Oculus Store and it's on PSVR, it's going to sell really well. But what I found recently, and it was going to be a topic of this week's show actually, is about sort of submitting your game to Oculus or PS or PlayStation or Steam to be published, right? And I found this out actually talking to devs at the show in London, is the Oculus and PlayStation have really strict rules about comfort. Your game has got to hit a certain frame rate, and it's got to have these comfort settings, and it's got to have this and that, and it's got to be 100% like smooth. Otherwise, they're not going to publish it on their store. That is like the bottom line. Whereas with Steam, it's almost the opposite. It's the Wild West. You can release a buggy game. Let's look at like Bethesda with Fallout 4 and LA Noire, like really bad optimization. You can just dump it on the store. Like, oh, that's fine. Yeah, no worries. We don't have to worry about it. But with PlayStation and Oculus, they have real strict barriers to entry when they publish a game.
You can even publish games like VR Chat on there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, yeah.
And that's probably why we won't see Subnautica on the Oculus Store, at least for some time now. But from what I've heard, like this process can be quite painful for developers because it takes time.
It's on there, Mike.
What do you mean?
Subnautica is available on the Oculus Home Store, I believe.
No, it's not.
Is it not?
No, definitely not.
I was getting loads of questions about which one should I buy it on. Okay, that's interesting.
No, it's only available on Steam. But like
Caliber, and I go to Oculus. They're like, okay, this is my game, and my frame rate is kind of like not meeting the expectations. So what I would do if I would have my first game going up there or somewhere else on Steam, is when I would like launch my next game. People away from certain platforms.
Well, the thing is, what it is,
like everyone wants their game on PlayStation VR.
The thing is, at least when you're buying a PSVR game or an Oculus title, it's going to run nice.
100%.
And that's the difference.
It's really important as a buyer as well, isn't it, Mike? Because
100%.
We've talked about this before. Like, if I will choose sometimes to go with a slightly lower resolution on PSVR to play a game that runs glass smooth.
No, I totally agree, and this is the thing. Like, so devs were saying it's a bit of a long cycle for the submission. It's got to be reviewed by a person. They give feedback, then they change it, then it goes back again. So it can take months, and that's why I think generally you don't get release dates for Oculus titles because sometimes it's really loose, and this whole reviewing process takes a lot of time. But what they've done recently is implemented a tool for developers to test their games themselves, so they can actually.
I am sorry to interrupt, but Petey has said that. Subnautica is on the Oculus Home Store.
Oh.
1 Zim, 0 to Mike.
Let me double check here.
I don't know, maybe not. But I know what I was thinking of, actually. It wasn't that at all. It was Sprint Vector. And actually, I think we both skipped that, but we've played that. We didn't talk about that at all.
Yeah. But so, like, this tool that Oculus have announced recently, it was going to be on the topic of the show, but we'll just slip it in there quickly now. It essentially is a way for developers to run their game through the tool, and then they don't have to submit it for a physical verification by Oculus. So it should streamline the submission process for devs now, which is kind of cool. But yeah, did you find the answer, Nathie? Is it on Oculus Store?
Yeah, it is on the Oculus Store. That's surprising. I think it's on there for a while then, It's not since this week.
No, it was. It was hosted and it was up next alongside. What else was new this week? Because I saw its little icon. That's what I had in my head, and that's why I was saying it, Mike. Because I obviously didn't buy it there. I bought it years ago on Steam. But as I said, people were asking me like which platform, and that's a really interesting question to answer. It's like, what platform would you prefer to have a game on? My answer to that, as just kind of an inherent general rule, is whatever platform it started on is probably the one where it's going to run the best. So like Steam is probably the best. And also, if you flip headsets, say 6 months from now, you're better off having it on Steam, right? But a lot of the Oculus Home titles do perform better if they were launched there and run through that natively.
I'm really surprised, actually, and to be honest, like I actually bought it out of my own money on Steam, so that's why I'm surprised.
I was gonna say, because you're whitelisted, aren't you?
I would have had access to it through Oculus anyway, so this is why I didn't believe that it was on the Oculus Store. So
yeah, I figured that's why that you checked it. Yeah, weird.
Move on. I'm wondering now, because they have strict rules now. We don't know the rules exactly, but maybe this explains why there were so many soft locomotion wise on Oculus Home for a while.
Could well be, yeah, because the comfort option, the comfort thing was a real thing in their mind. And, they're a bit lax with it now. Like they're letting more games in. Like Onward was one of the big ones that first opened the floodgates for like smooth locomotion and things like that. But I think they realize that that's what the community wants. And if that's what the community wants, well, you got to give them what they want at the end of the day.
And if they finally at Oculus Connect have on stage someone saying like, "Hey, there are actually people who like to play Onward. Can we have an applause, please? It's coming to Oculus Home." Then like finally understanding what's going on.
Yeah. So we shall move on to our next topic, and that is Beat Saber. And this is a title that's come out of nowhere, really. Like I didn't see this one coming. But imagine in your mind if you had Audio Shield, box VR type game where you're shooting or fighting, like little sort of notes coming towards you, then just replace those shields or boxing gloves with lightsabers. That is essentially what Beat Saber is. It's developed by a really small studio called Hyperbolic Magnetism. Really cool name, by the way.
Oh, it is? I didn't know that! That's fucking awesome!
Yeah.
Hyperbolic Magnetism!
Yeah. A small indie game studio based in the Czech Republic, which again is really, really cool. They've previously worked on mobile titles, so, you know, doing a lot of apps from the App Store and sort of mobile games. And now they're working on their first VR title, which is Beat Saber. So if you can kind of like imagine that the blocks come down towards the track, towards the player, that match a song, and then you have to slash those to sort of hit the beat. Kind of best described as a mashup between Guitar Hero and Fruit Ninja. That's kind of a good way of describing it. But yeah, like what I saw in London actually was a lot of devs mobile and then moving to VR. But anyway, yeah, Beat Saber looks like a really interesting game. We're probably playing the trailer now, and it looks super cool.
Oh my god, it looks amazing! I love beat detection games, and it's the kind of thing that, like, you know, it's gonna be bloody hard. Like, I like hard music detection games and all that. Like, Thumper is what it immediately reminded me of, but it's very different, of course, because you've got the motion controller support, you know, but the directionality of it, like having to hit those notes. My god, this is gonna be not easy. Yeah. This is gonna be fucking hard.
And it's physics-based too, and that's something new. You know, you need to hit those blocks in a way.
Yeah.
Talking about mobile VR games, Fantastic Beasts also came out.
Yeah,
and
it
Mike
did.
and I played it at Oculus Unwrapped. I really liked it. I was like, hey, this video, because that's basically what it is, tracking too, right? The PC, and you can see that there.
Nathie, you might want to get closer to your mic or something. I think it's cutting out. It's about every second word is we're losing it.
Not sure how much you heard of my story so far.
Try to start over.
Beginning. Yeah.
Talking about mobile VR games, Fantastic Beasts just came out as well. Funny enough is Mike and I played it at Oculus Unwrapped.
We did, yeah.
Or at least I did. I'm not sure about you, Mike.
Yeah, I liked it, yeah.
You know, it was like a 360 video with 3D elements in there. I thought it wasn't that bad. I enjoyed it. To be free, so now we have the same story again.
Yeah.
The movie has been out for a while, so buying a ticket doesn't really make sense here. You see it coming to Steam and also Oculus Home, as far as I know. And the reviews are actually, you know, they're destroying. And I think most people are right, you know, it's just not meeting the expectations of what people want. Play. So I'm not sure what you guys think about that.
Well, before we go back to Beat Saber, we'll touch on it quickly because, like, my wife, I don't know, people that watch the show will know that I've mentioned my wife is like the biggest Harry Potter fan ever. You know, she's been to the studio tour like a dozen times. She watches the films like almost on rotation every week. And when I told her we'd experienced like the Fantastic Beasts thing in London, she was like super hyped for it. And I said, well, as soon as it comes out, I'll fire it up on the Rift and you can check it out, see what you think. So she checked it out and she was really loving it because for the first time ever, she could actually be in the Harry Potter world, you know, the wizarding world of Harry Potter and experience that and having a wand. And so for us, maybe that are kind of VR veterans and maybe not so interested in Harry Potter, it's kind of like a pass or like a maybe. And like you say, for 10 quid, which is like, you know, $15 maybe, it's quite an expensive experience for something that's only going to last 20 minutes. But for someone like my wife that's a super fan, well, then it's like a must buy. But then it makes the audience very, very small for that type of title. But like you're right, it should be free.
But that's the kind of
Rowdy.
Like super fans. You know, super fans buy like anything that a company releases. I mean, Apple can bring a new iPhone out every year, and they will still buy it. And it's kind of like a thing always from a company to make like an experience that is not really. They just brought it to like the platform to make sure that those super fans will shed out more money. Experience, and that is. We mentioned that last time as well with the Jumanji title. That a company who is trying to advertise their movie, a paid version of the game.
Yeah, that's right. And like, she actually watched a trailer this morning of like a Hogwarts game that's coming to iOS. And she was way more interested in that because it seems like a game that she can keep going back to, keep playing more of, unlocking stuff. You know, the story develops. Whereas Fantastic Beasts, although it wasn't very polished, and I thought it was a great way of integrating like movement and a 360 video, a bit like Coco did. It was very clever the way they did it. It's just not enough. You know, we want more, essentially. So I think they're on the right track. I think, you know, Warner Brothers are doing the right thing. You know, they made it at least with Eddie Redmayne's voice, and they did put a lot of effort into it. So I admire them for that. But like you say, being paid, I don't know how much I agree with that. But for the super fans, it appeases them. But for everyone else, it's just they're going to pass this one.
And for my 2 cents on the movie tie-ins, I think you get what you pay for. And I kind of feel like movie tie-ins do well either at the low end or the high end. In other words, you get a demo or a taster type experience, like go watch the movie, and maybe that should be free or a couple of bucks or something, just to help fund the project. Or you go full hog and you get a proper dev studio to do some work on your game. I'm glad you actually checked out the Jumanji experience, Mike, just because there was a little niggle in the back of my head saying, is there any like game-saving, you know, game design mechanic? And when you said 15 minutes, straight away that tells me these guys don't actually care about their players.
No, and what, like, again, going back to Jumanji, it felt like a game that had been developed for mobile, but they'd be like, do you know what, let's just make this a VR experience because it makes it more interesting then, you know? That's kind of how I see it. But yeah. But anyway, we digress. Going back to Beat Saber.
Before we go to Beat Saber. Sorry, Mike. We've been seeing them popping out for the last 2 weeks, like Oculus Go news, hints, tidbits. As we're talking about mobile VR, a $200 headset's about to land. I don't know when it's going to land, but when it lands, I think it's going to be the event of the year. I think if you're not developing, if you're a VR developer with a game that could run on mobile, if you're not targeting this platform, I think you're not doing something right.
That's exactly what I said to everyone in London, actually. Everyone that was developing a title that maybe was like kind of not maybe like graphically amazing, and they were saying, oh yeah, we're looking at putting it on, you know, Rift and Vive. I said, look, just go for mobile because this is where your game's going to shine. And I actually finally got to play Augmented Empire, and I can tell you right now that game is legit, and I am so excited about playing that game. It's going to be so cool on the Oculus Go as well. I can't wait because it's going to be an 8-hour game, turn-based strategy, a bit like XCOM or Mario and Rabbids if you like the Switch. But very, very cool. They actually had to kick me out because I just kept on playing, and they were like, "Dude, you need to get out now." I'm like, "Maybe a bit longer, please." So yeah, the Oculus Go is going to be legit. And
was that code sync?
Augmented
Yeah, so that was like a code sync stand because they did what was the game that looked like very Portal-esque? Esper 2.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, this is from code sync.
But they have a lot of titles in development apparently for VR and mobile, so they're really on the ball with that, I think. And if Augmented Empire is a launch title, I think it's going to do very well on the go. But yeah, we are digressing very slightly.
Yep. Sorry, Michael.
So I made a bridge from the freaking like Beat Saber thing, but you couldn't hear it. So now the whole thing doesn't make any sense anymore.
It's ruined. Let's start again.
Sorry.
No. Like so. Going back to Beat Saber, you know, all the music is designed to work in sync with like the tracks that they've made. So it's not like a audio shield. Where they're sort of user tracks or like tracks that you import yourself. Go on, Rowdy.
Copyrighted?
What's that?
Is it copyrighted, or can people make videos on that on YouTube without getting claimed?
It's not copyrighted from the music that I've seen in the trailer, so it's nothing obvious that I recognize as being a track. So hopefully not, but that's obviously key. You know, it's a problem for us as content creators, because when we create content using copyrighted music, then they get flagged and then they get demonetized, and all the money goes to like the people that made the music.
Or you go to jail.
Yeah, or you go to jail.
But no, it's a problem for content creators, and Mike, you're absolutely right to point it out. Yeah. It's one of the things. Yeah. Like I love all the music beat games, but I basically can't play them on my show because copyright. Yeah. Everyone's like, "Oh, play Britney Spears." I can't. Yeah. It's just not good music. Sorry,
that someone made, but that's the only thing you can really play in the end. But I agree. But I think there must be a way to cover this on YouTube. Also, I like this to the channel, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the devs I think are going to be putting out some early access stuff for content creators anyway, from what I've heard. But all the music that they've added to the game is handmade for the levels. The goal is to make players dance and just get into like the zone while cutting those cubes and avoiding the obstacles. Each cut is strongly supported by like sound effects and visual effects to emphasize the beats and the rhythm of the game as well. And like you say, like looking from the trailer, it looks really cool. Like you're a dancing Jedi smashing blocks. It just looks freaking cool.
John Nick says it's like a Guitar Hero for drummers, or should we say Jedis?
Yeah, drumming Jedis, exactly.
There's another game like this though. I'm maybe you guys can help me out. You have two like fat like whack-a-mole wands, and you're hitting beats in like a field. There's a field in front of you. And there's 4 levels of all custom music for the game. I'm trying to remember. It's in my Steam library, but anyone recognize the name? It's a beat game like this.
Honestly, there's so many of those games coming out.
There's a really good one. It's one I would recommend. The title isn't coming to my brain right now.
Drumming VR Simulator.
It's not drumming.
The only two obviously I know of are like Box VR, which does more of a fitness but same sort of thing, and an audio shield. But this game is going to have a single-player campaign, obviously with different songs, and it's due for Q1 release in 2018. Will be available on the Rift, the Vive, and PSVR. So that's kind of cool.
That's good.
Oh, but I love like little indie titles like this that stand out and do something different. A bit like Cubism, another little indie title that just stands out, does something different. Whereas a lot of like some of the, like I said, a lot of devs are going from mobile to VR. They've never made a PC game before, just jumping straight from mobile to VR. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of shovelware coming to the platforms as well, like a lot of less polished games or just like wave shooters, for example. We just want genre-breaking titles. That's what we want, developers. And talking about genre-breaking titles, we're going to be talking about the Inpatient on the PSVR, which was launched this week, 23rd of January on the PlayStation Store. It's going to be available for $34.99 in the UK, around $40 US, and £25 to $30 for the physical release. I never understood why physical release is always cheaper than the digital release, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, I don't get that. I've never understood that either. Someone please explain that to me.
No, it's a mystery that we will never know.
And a lot of times, Mike, you can get it first. You know, if you like buying through Amazon or something, it'll show up at your door like a day early. Before release. So I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah. Super weird. But yeah, like the Inpatient is a psychological horror by Supermassive Games, which is set 60 years before the events of PS4 title Until Dawn. I don't know if you guys ever played Until Dawn on the PS4.
So feckin' good.
Yes, it is. And this is weird because you talked about playing games.
Hang on. We talking VR title now?
Until Dawn, no, was the pancake version, flat version.
No, okay, I was talking Rush of Blood. Until Dawn, Rush of Blood on PSVR is way better than it looks. Anyway.
Okay, so I don't know if you played the original Until Dawn then, the normal PS4 game.
No.
Okay, because you talked about like playing games with your wife, and that was actually one title that I actually played with my wife on the PS4, and we took it in turns, and like we talked about like which path should we take, or should we make this decision? Should we kill this character off? And it was a fun experience to play with her because she never normally plays games with me, so it was kind of a fun experience. But this is set before the that game, which was like basically a load of teenagers go to the woods, typical horror slasher type movie tropes where they slowly get killed off one by one. But you kind of control the events in your actions.
But this is connected with Until Dawn then.
Exactly, yeah. This is set 60 years before that title, and obviously this title is PS4 exclusive, and as well, like Until Dawn, Rush of Blood was another spin-off VR title that Zim's talking about, which was a shooter, right, Zim?
It was a rail shooter, so you're basically on a roller coaster, and you have to shoot things around your scene with this kind of mad, almost like a barbershop, quartet kind of guy, and the acting in it is really, really good. But if you're looking for a game that's like a horror game, but it's kind of on rails, so if you're on PlayStation and you wanted to play. What was the one? Something Mine Ride, which is a game you can get on Steam. Ghost Shooter Mine Ride on Steam, which is quite good. An equivalent on PlayStation VR is the Rush of Blood game, which I thought was actually really good. And it was a launch title. I'm surprised at how good it was.
But whereas Rush of Blood was a rail shooter, the Inpatient focuses on the story-driven content, which, you know, is Rowdy's bag. Rowdy loves story-driven content, as we know. He talks about it every show, and rightly so, to be fair, because story-driven content is the best. And you wake up in a creepy medical facility with no memory, and you have to sort of discover why you're there, what's going on, and it's all around this kind of sanatorium, which is mentioned in Until Dawn, the original game. So you've played this, Rowdy. So what has your experience been of this title so far?
First up, I want to say I think the price is a bit pricey for the entire experience, because from what I mean, I have not finished the game yet, so I don't really know yet how much more is there gonna come. But I do have the feeling that limited in terms of like to expect for that kind of price. There's also the impression I've been getting from other people that have played this game. Also, I know that in Until Dawn, you had a lot of variety in endings, while this is actually also like that. I mean, you have like, but they don't diverse that much as they do in the original, in the Until Dawn experience. But like you said, it's a very story-driven kind of experience. Scary in the way Resident Evil can be scary, although at some parts it is. It's a very like atmospheric kind of horror experience. You know, you have like some jump scares in it, but it's like the entire like the weirdness of it that is going on, and you have like those nightmares that you need to experience, and all the supernatural kind of stuff that is happening in there. It's really well done, and the voice acting of it is absolutely brilliant. You have like the facial expressions; they really get into your face when they're talking to you. I really like that kind of stuff. It feels like you're playing in a movie, and I like the original. I was called Rush of Blood. I think is this still plays a little bit on rails, because you have like that kind of like very linear kind of path that you need to follow. At least up until where I've played, it doesn't really. That you can choose. You can, for example, in a nightmare, you can choose to go and enter the door, or you can choose to go just past it. You can go left or right. You know, you have those kind of choices you need to make, but it's still a very kind of like much more straightforward and linear kind of experience. But yeah, I kind of enjoyed it. I'm not a really big horror kind of fan, mostly because of the jump scares. I really don't like it when you do that. It really freaks me out. But this kind of atmospheric kind of horror, I actually really enjoyed, and it really made me curious of like what is now going on, and like you get like those memory that pop up once in a while. I think that is really well done.
Okay,
Cool.
so quick update here. I'm now just spoilering myself with the whole game here, but I see that it's called Video Gamers. They played the game and they did a full gameplay, and it took them 2 hours and 20 minutes to finish.
Right. Right.
All of
Very
the
long for.
Yeah, I guess that's the difficulty with games like this that are so like, you know, like it's graphically very impressive, and like you said, Rowdy, about the facial animations being very detailed, and it's just these games take so long to develop. So short experiences, it's difficult, isn't it? You know, 2 hours, but if you say it's 2 hours of gameplay that is solid and really, really detailed, and
2 hours. Is that 2 hours for the entire game, both endings, or is that just one playthrough that is 2 hours?
That's one one ending.
right.
That's not that bad. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you say, if it's a great experience and it's very polished, then I don't necessarily have too much of a problem with it being 2 hours. All right, the price is a little bit more expensive, but then the price of PSVR titles are more expensive than traditional Steam games anyway. So you kind of just have to roll with that because the headset's much cheaper.
That's how they get you on the monthly installment of Sony PlayStation VR. Is the thing that's like you release the cheaper headset and you have games that just like, because I did some calculations on this before, and the price of Sony games is about 40% bumper on, you know, on a comparable game per hour, which is interesting. But if you're going to buy a PSVR, just think ahead a couple of steps. Like, what are the 5 games you're going to buy first? What's that total going to be? Do you have that money?
Yeah. It's probably still cheaper than buying like £1,000 PC or something. Like that.
Yeah, but a lot of people have PCs they can upgrade, you know, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
one of those, like, you have to just make sure you don't jump in before you think about it. Because, like, people do that. Like, they'll buy, I remember when the first iPhone launched, people were like, yeah, oh, great, you know, 35 a month, I can afford that. And before you know it, you realize that that's 1,200 quid a year, you know? It's like...
Yeah, yeah.
So
But
Rowdy, how was like the sound in the game? Like, how did it immerse you more? Like, how did it play around with you?
The sound, the voices, or you mean like the atmosphere and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, just like that matches the environment and also maybe plays around with what maybe crawling on your skin, you know, like that, like those kind of effects where.
Really well done, because that's one of the things that why I said it's more like atmospheric kind of horror. Is all the noises around you that really freak you out. Like I had that one nightmare sequence where this guy was just sitting on the bed, and the way that they build up, you knew what was gonna happen, but the way they built that up, and you need to go closer to that, and like the entire thing is. But even like the air, you can feel like the air is like changing around you. That is so well done, and then. You know, they play so well with that kind of sound, and I wouldn't really call it a jump scare then anymore. What is going to happen? But it still freaks you out so much. I can imagine that a lot of people get like really scared while playing this.
I love that though.
Definitely.
I love that stuff. That is so weird. But I came into VR almost never having played a horror game. And now I'm like, it's weird addiction to kind of want that foreboding tension, like all the time. And that's why I like Subnautica so much.
Yeah, you're now an addict, Zim. You love that adrenaline boost. You're an adrenaline addict.
I love adrenaline boosts, and you love Knuckles, right? Nice shirt, by the way.
I do love Knuckles. Look, I can make him dance.
It's actually awesome. Where the fuck did you get that?
I got it from a place called tpublic.com. So they're in the States, but just word of warning, if you import a load of t-shirts, which I did, they will sting you quite hard for import tax.
Yeah, customs gets you.
For the free advertisement, by the way.
Free advertisement. Send me more t-shirts and I don't want to pay import tax next time. But just quickly, whilst on the subject of PSVR, because I'm intrigued by this one, because I don't actually have a PSVR and I've never actually tried one. They've recently done an upgrade, right? Which is like a 1.2 upgrade with their headset. So it's a little bit slimmer. Yeah. It's got integrated headphones now, from what I understand, and HDR pass-through. Have you guys tried out the new headset, or are you going to buy one, or what's the score with that?
It's a marginal upgrade.
Right, okay.
It wouldn't be worth replacing. It's not like the Vive Pro. It's a revision. It's kind of like what Vive did when they cut down the weight and did those changes. They basically did a couple of cosmetic things, a couple of utilitarian things, but it's not materially different.
Right. Okay, cool. Okay, so we shall move on then to another headset, and that is obviously the Windows mixed reality headsets. They have all been slashed in price, and I wonder why they've been slashed in price. Is it because they're not selling very well? Well, I don't know. But we shall see. Because the problem is we don't actually have any stats, right? Like they haven't released any stats on how well or how badly these things are selling. So who knows? But
don't need stats, Mike. Don't need stats, Mike. They're not selling well.
Well, I do have some stats, but I'll come to that in a bit. Interestingly, so I don't think these headsets are personally any better than the Vive or the Rift. But at this price point, then it's a worthwhile jump into VR if you're really.
Can you mention the price, Mike?
Yeah, I will. So I'll come to all the prices very shortly. But obviously the Rift is $400, Vive is $600, and some of the prices available right now, it did go as low as $219 for a headset with integrated tracking and everything else. It's not too bad. If you're gonna buy one and it's half the price of a Rift, then at that price point, I would say, yeah, sure, go and check it out. If you're really on the fence about VR,
you know what they're doing. Their product managers have gotten together around a table and gone, guys, we're about to get creamed on the other side of our potential sales market by mobile VR when that hits. We need to change the price now. You know, because they're going to get screwed by mobile VR.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And so last week they had a big sale, a huge sale. It's over now, but the prices are still really low. So the sale dropped prices of these Windows MR headsets down to $219. But that is only in the US. The Europe and UK, like always, got totally screwed over and the price didn't change. So I checked the prices, the current prices right now. I'll just quickly whiz through them. And weirdly, if you want to buy one, go to Amazon.com. If you're in the US right now and you're thinking you're on the fence about like a Windows mixed reality headset, you got $200, go to Amazon and buy it from there. Don't even think about buying it from Microsoft because they have not reduced their prices at all since the launch, and that is just like awful. So here are the Amazon prices. So for the HP headset, $225. For the Dell, $249. For the Acer, $285. And for the Lenovo, $288. The Samsung Odyssey, obviously that's in a league of its own, and that is $719 or $499 from Microsoft. So
really?
Quite $499 from Microsoft, but for some reason it's bumped up the price on Amazon, whereas all the rest are cheaper on Amazon.
Bitcoin.
Blame Bitcoin.
I'm blaming Bitcoin.
Yeah.
No. A question for you, Mike. This is a question because out of everyone here, we remember you going through the painful release of your headset and bringing that back to the store. What would you pay for the headset you tried, and which one was it again that you bought?
So I bought the Dell, and that is $250. So if that was like £250, so around half the price of the Vive, I mean half the price of the Rift, then I would say it's a good start to get you into VR if you've got like the hardware, right? But still, I still can't get over the fact that I don't like the controllers. I hate the fact that it's got no audio. The display doesn't have any visual difference in my eyes as to compared to the Rift and the Vive. And there is no first-party content available. So from Microsoft, they're not really supporting it. All the content available is through Steam or through using Revive on the Rift, platform. So you can play Oculus Rift games and you can play Steam games, but how well they're going to run, I don't know. But
you're one of
the price.
A Halo recruit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, if you really want that,
I think it's not for gamers.
$250, would you do that? I think $250 is a really, really nice price. Super cheap.
Yeah, but that's only in the US.
But let's say for US people.
Yeah, then I would say.
Then later on, go to an Oculus or a Vive or maybe a Samsung Odyssey or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm very happy. It's maybe I'm not even sure if this is not selling well. Like a lower price doesn't say it's not selling well because this thing for 450, 400, right? It was like meeting up with the Rift and also other headsets, but build quality and how much they made it for is much lower. So this price they are now asking for. Yeah.
But also, we haven't seen Microsoft come out the gates and say, "Okay, thanks for supporting the platform, guys. You've bought our incredible headset. Now you're going to get Forza Motorsport or a Gears of War in VR. Like we brought these excellent titles to VR. They're not doing that. So how much faith do they have in the platform? That's my question. And when you look at the stats, because Steam actually has hardware stats, right? So connected hardware to Steam VR titles. Well, this is the percentages of the Steam VR hardware. So 47.2% is HTC Vive. 46.1% is Rift. So it's almost like 50-50 Vive and Rift. Windows Mixed Reality, 4.3%. So that's pretty low in terms of stats. And then you've got 2.2% is DK2 still. People are still using the DK2 on the Steam platform. So, despite this aggressive price strategy and everything else, it's still not hitting the mark, I don't think, in my mind. And I think it needs that first-party support from Microsoft to be a success. Because if they say, right now you're going to have Gears of War in VR, but it's only exclusive to Windows Mixed Reality platforms, well, then you've got me interested, Microsoft. Let me hear more. But right now, I'm not.
I think, just based on something I saw earlier this week, I actually think that the platform is good for developers on the go. There was particularly, but what are they called again? Virtual Unicorns or something like that. Julie Heide behind
VR Unicorns.
VR Unicorns, thank you. They did a really nice thing with Microsoft where they did kind of an intro to their team and how a dev on the go uses the headset. So I think that if you're a student who's learning Unity and you want to get into games, in other words, the actual creation of games, you're a level designer or something involving VR, again, Unity, I think it's a really good way to go on, you know, be on the go. You can have the headset in a messenger bag. That's much better for you than trying to go for one of the powerhouses, you know, in terms of development.
And we have said this before, like these mixed reality headsets, when we were trying to figure out who these were for, we said like these headsets are for developers, but now the price is dropping to like $250. I'm like, pretty low on a budget.
No, they're for student developers.
So if you are not a developer, it's a great chance to get started.
Yeah, but
because it does work. It maybe not as, but for $250. Okay.
Yeah.
Be honest there. Of course, the price, like as you said, when you had one, you said like, but this is fairly expensive, and there are other things out there that are much better. Yeah, Rowdy, go for it.
The thing is, I agree with that, but at the same time, a lot of people that are interested in VR, they're not going to go the cheap way, I think. I think when they're interested in VR and they want to get into, the first thing they're going to look up is, what is the best VR headset that I can buy? Price will become a second thing. It's the same if you look at like the Windows Phone. Still buy iPhones, even if they can't afford it, they buy it on like a monthly plan. Just because it is the recognized device, you know that it's supported. And those Windows phones, I mean, there are people that have it, but you can't compare it to the market of the iPhone. And I think that is kind of like the similar kind of thing with this.
Yeah, the Windows phones are awful, by the way.
Agree on that, but it totally also depends on the person. Like, let's say if you are 12 years old and you can have a headset from your parents, this is what you can get, and otherwise you're not getting it, you know. And then for example, but if you're a little older, you know, I just work a few more extra months and I will just buy that.
I'm with Rowdy on that, though. I've seen so many examples of audience members, people on my team who are in that age bracket of like 14, 16, don't have the cash for it. They would rather save up and go for the Rift than go for something that's shite. Go on, Rowdy.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that episode of South Park where Cartman gets an iPad? Or he wants an iPad, but his mom can't afford it. So he buys like a really cheap one, like from Lenovo, and he's like in all states, and he puts like the iPad symbol on it. It's brilliant, that episode. That's just what I had to. That is just what came to my mind now.
But still, I would like to invite everyone to give one of those mixed reality headsets a try. You would pay $250 for it, because I think it's still a decent price for $250.
I'll tell you when I'll do it. I am planning to do it because I haven't actually had the chance to go in.
I'm not defending this headset, but I think the price right now is it's freaking awesome.
I think I will go to a shop and I will pick it up when it's in the bargain bin, because mobile VR has squashed it, and that'll be in the summer, and Microsoft will be crying, and I'll pick up one of their headsets and I'll try it then.
So Nathie, right? You've got two of these headsets, right? Yeah, you've got like what, the Odyssey and the Acer, the blue one?
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. How often have you used those headsets since you had them?
I've used the Samsung Odyssey a lot more compared to the Acer one, because the Acer one is like the cheaper version, the $250 one, and the Samsung Odyssey is basically the king of all headsets, I would say. So the Samsung one, you got controllers that are more rounded up. They are better in terms of like how you hold them, but you are still stuck with the same platform in the end. So you have a better resolution. You have a little nicer looking controllers. Still, since this price is dropping right now, like it's a little bit when we had the DK2 as well. You know, it was also kind of like the easy entry level of VR. Actual motion controllers below like a Vive and a Rift. Else.
But like, if you had them side by side, the Odyssey and the Vive, which one are you going to choose? And let's be honest about it, like the price isn't that much different between the two.
I can't believe that price is so high.
Samsung Odyssey. A Samsung Odyssey is of course pretty pricey.
The screen's meant to be amazing. I haven't seen one.
Yes, it is amazing, but of course that's not going to bring you to a point where you want to buy it. It depends, of course. Some people might be like, okay, resolution, oh my god. But I don't think so. I don't think so.
Can we take a quick poll? All right, who would buy a headset based on resolution alone? Hands up.
I think that's pretty rare.
Audio listeners, there are no hands in the air. Thanks, Nathie.
I think there is a pretty big market, I would say.
I agree. But
want to buy one for $250.
But not people who know what they're talking about. Sorry.
Again, like, try it out yourself and then see.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said before, I was also not very impressed by the Acer one. The Samsung Odyssey was pretty cool. But now the price is dropping. It's more interesting than before.
Yeah, it is more interesting before with the prices dropping, but still, if someone came to me and said, I want to buy a VR headset, which one do I buy? Like Zim said, I would just say save up and get the better one.
That's also because like a mixed reality headset has never been like marketed in a way. They never pulled out anything spectacular in a way because they wanted this to have, like, developers needed to buy this, you know?
Yeah.
So it's not on the tip of someone's tongue. Like Vive and Rift have been their headsets for like 2 years now. It's everywhere on YouTube, on articles. Mixed reality is kind of like, because they never advertised it for consumers.
And Nathie's talking about tongues, so why don't we talk about thumbs?
Nice. That was a really nice segue, dude. So let's go on to thumbs. Yeah. So
Okay.
let's move on to this 3D printed Vive thumbstick that came out in the news last week, but I'd actually seen it before. Like weeks and weeks ago, actually. I was watching Reality Check VR, Caleb, me and Zim met him at OC4. Sometimes I watch his videos, like he does a lot of 3D printing stuff as well. And this kind of is right up his street because it's like VR and 3D printing in the same subject. So what it is a 3D printed attachment that you can get for your Vive, and you put it over the wand, and then it's like a little thumbstick that you put over the trackpad. So it gives you that kind of thumbstick over the trackpad that you get with like the Oculus Touch, for example. Because like I mentioned in last week's show, one of the things I don't like about the Vive, I think it's a great headset, but the controllers on the Touch I find are just far superior. I think they're more comfortable and they're more ergonomic. And also I miss the thumbsticks when I use a Vive, and I can't quite get used to the trackpad. But this actually kind of solves that problem. We haven't actually tested it. We've just seen it, but I've actually got access to a 3D printer. So if you guys are interested in checking this out, I could probably print some sets off for you and get them sent out to you. But essentially, yeah, it's like a little 3D printed thing. You can download this if you've got a 3D printer at home from Thingiverse. You'll know Thingiverse if you've got a 3D printer. It's like everyone gets their stuff from there. And you can download it for free and print it on your 3D printer. If you don't have a 3D printer, you can buy them on eBay. I think the going price right now is about $14 for a pair. And it was made by a guy called Eisenmeower. From the, it's a great name.
What a brilliant name, yeah.
From the Reddit community, he actually made it and he posted it on the Vive Reddit and some other Reddits and sort of shared the files with everyone. So some people have been buying them, some people have been printing them and checking it out. But yeah, it looks really, really neat, and I think it's a nice, tidy little solution that solves that little problem of having a thumbstick, especially if you're using like a Revive solution for Oculus titles. I don't know how well that's going to work, but maybe that'll make things run a little bit smoother. Yeah.
There's one application which I would immediately want to try this on, and that is when I revive From Other Suns, because the lack of thumbstick in that is the #1 hold-up point for me to recommend it to Vive owners. Because I basically say, this thing is designed around thumbstick. If you don't have it, you really can't go there. So I'd love to try it. I've got to get a pair of these.
Yeah, absolutely.
To think that since this is now out and people know about it, going to take this to the next level, where you maybe have a little thumbstick on the top, like Rift has. Like maybe someone is going to build something onto it. The idea this guy had. So
And interestingly, like when I was doing some research about this, I came up with some other Vive related news. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but did you know that the Vive Pro actually works with USB-C rather than USB 3.0?
Are you serious?
Yeah. So, and this is the thing, like, I don't know whether that is USB-C to the breakout box and then it's USB 3.0 from there, traditional USB, or that it's going to be USB straight to your motherboard. Because if that is, well, that's going to be a problem for some people. And I can see that Zim is checking right now because...
Yeah, it's the current one is USB-C.
The current one is USB?
Box. To the breakout box, that is.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's the roundy, wide hole.
Okay. Okay, so then it's not a big deal then. So then it will be.
That would be very strange as a decision.
But even if they did, I had this recently. I bought as you guys know, I record all my footage, so I've got loads of hard drives sitting around. I bought one of those things, and it was a USB-C, so I had to get a converter. But it's not a big deal, right? Because if you're connecting to a USB 2 port, unless it's taking the power drive that is taken from a USB-C grade port, then it's a problem. We'll have to get that confirmed by somebody. You know, look at cables.
So just for confirmation for me, because obviously I don't have a Vive. Yeah. So the wire from your Vive to your breakout box is a USB-C connection.
There's 3 different connectors. One's HDMI, one's USB-C, and the third looks like audio or some kind of a power connector. I think it's a power connector. Yeah.
So the USB-C goes to the breakout box, and then from the breakout box to your PC is a normal USB connection.
I think it's either 1 or 2. Is it forked? It's definitely a USB connection, but I don't know if it's like the Rift where it has the kind of 2 bits to it.
Right.
I'd have to.
I wonder why they implemented that then. It seems like a strange design choice. But I guess it then means you only have one cable going to the Vive rather than the split from the breakout box, right? I guess that's why they do it, for bandwidth.
That's a good question. Does the breakout box do anything? Hang on, I'll do a feature here on Nathie.
Nice.
Flicking it around. Look at that. Oh, we've got the USB. Yours is different to mine. You have a display port in the middle, isn't that?
And spin it around,
Nathie. One, though.
Nathie,
this one goes...
Is that the new one?
The blue part goes from... to the PC, and orange is where the Vive goes in.
Okay, so that is just normal USB. So you must have a different one then, Zim.
I think mine's different. Hold on. Maybe I didn't get close enough.
So this is going to be
one, I guess, but
no, it's the same. Yeah, it's USB 2. It's USB 2 actually.
Okay.
It's just that the cable connector is rounded, so it looked like a USB-C.
Talking about some juicy news, and I think we can also talk about this more in the next episode. So the Vive Pro now finally starts to get into like the part where people can actually get their hands onto it. I've seen someone that did some research on the Vive wireless adapter from Intel, and so what he said is you need a battery pack together with the battery on your head. Now that was something we knew, but there also needs to be a camera that you need to mount wall that needs to track that too or something. And I'm not sure if this is like, this has not been confirmed yet, but he said like there was something laying on the table, like a little adapter or a transmitter, whatever, and it went to the PC. A camera in the corner. It didn't look like a lighthouse. It looked like something else, but...
Wow. So you might have to track the wireless thing as well as your headset.
Yeah, I don't know why
weird.
you want to do that, but I don't really know. But we see more and more. It's kind of weird that they don't tell us anything about it, but now people just figure it out with recording little cameras everywhere where everything goes, you know? But
isn't it just a transmitter and receiver? Why would that need to be tracked?
Yeah, I wouldn't think it would be a camera. That seems a bit odd to me from what I've seen. I think you'd be right there, Rowdy. It'd be some kind of a transmitter receiver combo, but the thing we keep seeing is that the componentization, we already saw this. Anyone who's opened an original Vive box and opened up that sheet of paper, which has, I wish I had the image, which has about 27 different little lines coming out of the box, like these are all the components. Vive has never been a very tidy solution. It's not like an Apple product. Apple would never ship something that has 27 bits to it. But Vive seemed to love it. They just love componentization, and you guessed it, Mike, before. And I loved hearing Tested talk about it during the week, watching their coverage. But it's like the amount of different bits and pieces. They're kind of almost going for this like modularization of the headset, which is really funny.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Tested do have a video up of their new coverage of the Vive Pro, actually, which is interesting.
The thing I learned from that, I have to share because I think it's amazing, is that unlike the deluxe audio strap, the headset bits come off. Take a screwdriver, pop them off. As you guys know, who watch me, I did that with the Rift because I like my own audio over the top. So being able to take the audio off and customize what you listen through is important. For someone like me, why do I like it? It's not just because of audio quality. If my wife is sitting there, I want to be able to hear her.
Yeah.
So
I did that as well with the deluxe audio strap. I took them off there.
you can take those off. They're coming off. Thanks, Rowdy.
To come back to the wireless adapter, so this was a post by someone who went to set has to be connected to a power bank to run, as well as its own sensor, which you have to mount to a wall. The battery. Now I got the video here. I hope you will be able to see this.
Yeah, we can see it.
You can see that, yeah.
The power bank is an anchor,
pack.
by the way. It's a specific, I think it's branded, a specific branded anchor power bank that ships
so that's
with
like
the device.
Something on the wall there? Yeah.
What is that? Oh yeah, I forgot it's got the T-bone. How appealing does this look like to you guys?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like an extra camera in my wall. I'm like, why? Come on, like now we have this, but this is not confirmed. Rumor has it. I don't freaking know. Like this guy could just record a security camera and say like, yeah, guys, this is the camera you need. So I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? So let's start wrapping the show up. Like, have we got any comments or questions from the chat? And then we'll sort of answer a couple of questions before we shoot off. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, we just don't know yet what's going to happen with these devices until we physically have them in our hands. And I'm surprised that, you know, a select few people have been able to try it out. Like, I know that Rev Carl posted recently. It was at like a meetup and he got to try it out. Obviously, the tested guys have got to try it out. So hopefully, you know, we can get our hands on one in the near future to see what our thoughts are.
There was a comment from Nimzo who said it's kind of a pain in the ass to change the batteries in the touch controls, and actually this touches on something that Tested talked about, which I think is an interesting thing. Do you want a power button on your VR headset? Because the PSVR has it, Vive Pro has it, Vive Original does not, and Oculus Rift does not. What do you guys think? Do you care?
I just turn mine off using the Oculus Tray tool. You know, if you're an Oculus user and you don't have the Oculus Tray tool, you should definitely check it out. You can just basically right-click on the icon, press stop, and that'll just turn your headset off completely. Which is a great way of doing it, you know, so it doesn't interfere.
But wait, if there's a button on there, or you can go to your computer to turn something off, or in VR, whatever. I think all the options should be there. So a button, yeah, why not? You know, which
have an on and off button though on the button on the bottom of the Vive that you can turn on and off.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think there is. I clearly don't spend enough quality time with my Vive. I've gotten ports and on-off button wrong. Jeez, don't listen to me about Vive stuff, guys. I'm an Oculus fanboy here. Anyway.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, if there's any more questions or comments from the chat, let us know. Nimzo, by the way, I'm intrigued about your Mario Odyssey VR mod that you're making at the moment, if you're still watching.
When someone said, do you guys ever get audio crackling with your Rift? Mine's been getting it sometimes. I've heard others complain of that. I've had it on Vive, but not on Rift.
I know exactly what that problem is, and it's likely that you're using the wrong type of USB extension cable. So the only time I've ever had audio issues with the Rift is when I used a wrong a wrong USB extension cable. If you use a different branded one, I've done a video where I've tested tons of them out and I listed the best ones that actually work. Check that video out on my channel and I can point you in the right direction. If you're not using an extension cable, then I don't know, but I would best guess that's your issue.
And guys, you know how earlier I was stumbling on what was that name of that music game? It's called Beats Fever. Very good.
Yes.
Whole bunch of, have you guys played it?
No, I've seen it.
Yeah, I really liked it. But if you're like, oh, I want to get into, you know, Beat Saber, then Beats Fever. It sounds very similar, but actually it's really good. So
get the fever before you get your Saber. That's what we say. Right. Okay, guys. So what I'll do is I'll wrap this one up. So as you all know, this is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show. It's live streamed every Saturday on the Good Nathies YouTube channel. You can tune into the show live at 4 p.m. in Europe, 3 p.m. in the UK, 9 a.m. in Central US. If you missed the podcast, you can check out the whole show, which I upload to my own channel, Virtual Reality Oasis, or check out the audio-only version on your commute like I do, because I'm a loser, on Google Play Music, iTunes, and SoundCloud. And thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for being a part of this. And thank you for understanding when we have technical issues. It does happen from time to time. We are humans, after all. And we are at the beck and call to this technology. So unfortunately, it lets us down. But we'll overcome it. And we'll be back next week, hopefully on time, to deliver this awesome show for you guys.
And hot damn, we all
Thanks
look
again
good.
for being a part of it.
Oh, yeah. Thanks,
and we'll
Mike.
see you next episode.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.